a spaceship that turns into a confession booth, a city that quietly replaces its own people. Christopher Nolan once said the films that form us become part of our memories, and the 70s made those memories loud. These are 10 must-see 70s sci-fi movies Nolan recommends. Starting with number 10, Solaris, 1972. Tarkovsky answers the space race with a story about memory that moves like a dream you can't shake. A psychologist, Chris Kelvin, arrives on a failing station above the planet Solaris and sees the impossible. The dead returned as flesh and breath, built from guilt. His wife appears, familiar and wrong, and the mission stops being scientific and turns personal. Tarkovsky keeps everything calm and patient. Long corridors, fogged glass, water that looks like consciousness. You don't get jump scares. You get time pressing on you until you feel it in your chest. It didn't steamroll the Western box office, but it cleaned up at European festivals and played strong across the Soviet bloc. Restorations, retrospectives, and a 2002 remake pulled new audiences back to the original and turned it into a true cult classic. What lasts isn't the mystery of what Solaris is. It's how the movie treats time, weather, and sound like characters. If modern space films make you feel first and explain second, they're taking notes from Solaris. Its grief is gravity, and it never stops tugging. Number 9, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. Nolan openly called Close Encounters one of the films that formed him as a kid. That's because Steven Spielberg shoots First Contact like it starts in your kitchen. Roy Neary, a utility worker, gets seared by a strange light, then can't stop carving a mountain he's never seen. While his life frays, the world's puzzle pieces click, maddening air traffic tapes, planes back from the dead, a 5-note melody that becomes a bridge. The story moves like an investigation, step by step to Devil's Tower, and a meeting that's about understanding, not conquest. Audiences showed up. The 1977 release hit big, and the later special edition and director's cut kept the totals climbing into the hundreds of millions worldwide. Awards followed, especially for that glow and the sound that taught spaceships to sing, and the film settled into the kind of cult status you earn with repeat viewings and family handoffs. The legacy is clear. It keeps the camera on ordinary faces while the extraordinary walks in, letting logistics and wonder share the same frame. Number 8, Star Wars 1977.
All wings report in.
Red 10 standing by.
Red 7 standing by.
Red 3 standing by.
A farm kid leaves home, meets a princess with a plan, and gets pulled into a war that feels ancient. The shock isn't just the myth. It's the texture. Space looks used, carbon-scored hulls, dusty hangars, a battle station that hums like heavy industry. That credibility plus clean, heroic storytelling turned a summer release into gravity. The box office didn't just spike, it cycled for years with re-releases, special editions, and a merch ecosystem that rewrote studio math. People caught the shift immediately. This was world building as a complete environment, where sets and props carry as much narrative as lines of dialogue. The long-term impact is everywhere. It proved that tactile effects, practical builds, and clear geography sell the impossible better than glossy abstraction. Directors learned to let a cockpit's scratches tell a story, and a corridor's shape tell a strategy. If modern sci-fi feels like a place you could trip in, thank the Falcon's chipped paint and the Death Star's cold symmetry. Number 7, Superman, the movie, 1978.
I'd listen to this man. Take him away.
Nolan has repeatedly pointed to Richard Donner's Superman as a model for playing ideals straight in comic book cinema, an influence he's discussed around the Batman films. Believe a Man Can Fly wasn't hype, it's the film's whole approach. Richard Donner plays it straight. Krypton feels like cold crystal myth. Smallville feels sun-baked and honest, and Metropolis moves like a real city. Christopher Reeve sells both sides, the shy reporter who trips over himself, and the fearless hero who means every word. The origin isn't rushed, it's treated like a legend, shot with patience and respect. Audiences responded everywhere. The movie was a major hit at home and overseas, earned strong reviews, and proved a comic book story could carry prestige production and advanced effects without irony. Its shadow is long. Any superhero film that keeps a straight face about ideals is because of Superman. In a 70s moment full of cynicism, it chose sincerity and made it cinematic. Number 6. Alien, 1979.
Seems she has intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
A crew answers a distress signal, breaks quarantine, and pays for it. Ridley Scott turns a working ship into a haunted maze. Wet pipes, steel grates, doors that breathe. Nothing is oversold. Silence does half the job. The plot is simple on purpose, so the textures can do the scaring. Unreadable screens, dripping chains, a life form that keeps changing shape and rules. Critics praised the control and the nerve. Awards followed for the visuals, and the film did serious business worldwide, enough to launch one of sci-fi's most enduring franchises. The lesson stuck. Treat hardware like environment, not decoration. Move the camera like a crew member, not a showman. Alien didn't just define space horror, it raised the bar for realism and fantasy. You don't need to explain every bolt, you need us to feel the cold. Number 5. The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977.
When this mission is over, I will kill you.
This is the Bond movie where sleek spy craft brushes right up against futurism. Roger Moore teams with a Soviet agent, trades smiles with Jaws, and drives a Lotus off a pier that calmly returns as a submarine. Production designer Ken Adam turns scale into a spectacle, especially that supertanker that swallows submarines whole. Audiences noticed. It became the series' biggest success of the era, and critics called it the franchise back on form. The influence hides in plain sight. The film doesn't drown you in jargon. It sells the impossible by playing it cool and shooting gadgets and vehicles like stars. Event movies have been copying that entrance energy ever since. It isn't hard sci-fi, but the look, the sets, and the confidence helped set the 70s blueprint for how tomorrow should feel on screen. Number 4. A Clockwork Orange, 1971.
Oh no! Whoa!
Kubrick turns Anthony Burgess's novel into one hard question. If you cure someone by taking away their choice, are they still a person? Alex DeLarge starts as a sharp-tongued thug who lives for ultra-violence. When he's arrested, the state pushes him through the Ludovico technique, an aversion therapy that makes him physically ill at the thought of violence. The twist isn't whether Alex pays for what he's done. He does. The issue is what's left of him after the treatment. The release set off alarms everywhere. In the US, it arrived with an X rating and drew fierce debate over its stylized brutality. In the UK, the headlines got so heated that Kubrick asked for the film to be withdrawn in 1973. It didn't return widely until a 2000 re-release after his death. Even with the controversy, awards bodies paid attention, and Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, and more. And the movie performed impressively in America for such a provocative title, taking in about $26.6 million domestic on a modest budget. Its legacy is how it argues with images. Sets, lenses, blocking, and color do the storytelling. The milk bar as a church of bad intentions, apartments laid out like traps, a clinic that looks like a machine. Number 3. Stalker, 1979. Tarkovsky takes a clean setup, a forbidden zone with a room that grants your deepest desire, and turns it into a slow, hypnotic trek. A guide called The Stalker leads a writer and a professor through leaking tunnels, half-sunk factories, and grass that seems to breathe. Nothing chases them. The threat is what the room might reveal. If it gives you what you truly want, not what you say you want, do you still step inside? It didn't storm theaters. Soviet distribution was tight, and the movie found its audience gradually, festival by festival, revival by revival. With restorations and word of mouth, it grew from curiosity to cornerstone. Filmmakers kept coming back, and Stalker settled into the canon as one of cinema's clearest arguments that time and texture can be storytelling tools. Its fingerprints are everywhere. Sound presses on you instead of shouting. Shots linger until water, rust, and wind feel charged with meaning. The landscape becomes a moral test, not just a backdrop. That patient, slow cinema style, letting atmosphere carry the weight, owes a lot to Stalker. Number 2, The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976.
Are you the first?
The first one.
David Bowie shows up like he's from another frequency, and that's the point. He plays Thomas Jerome Newton, an alien who lands with a stack of revolutionary patents and a plan to save his dying planet by building a way home. At first, it works. Money pours in, doors open, then the trap springs. Television, alcohol, and constant surveillance peel him apart until the mission fades and the disguise starts to stick. Nicholas Roeg doesn't cut by plot, he cuts by thought. Scenes flicker like memories. Time jumps, images repeat, moments bleed into each other. That threw some critics in 76, but it's exactly why the film lasts. Reshoots and restorations pulled it back into the spotlight, and it's now a cornerstone of 70s art sci-fi, and a key chapter in Bowie's on-screen legend US box office was modest. But the afterlife has been huge. What it changed is clear. The film treats editing as psychology and turns modern life, media, desire, loneliness into the forces that undo a visitor from the stars. It made sci-fi feel sensual and melancholy, not just futuristic. You can trace its DNA in later movies that bend chronology, let images carry emotion, and show how identity gets warped by the very technology meant to save us. Number 1, Invasion of the Body, Snatchers 1978.
I'm Michaels. I'm with the Federal Preparedness Agency. Yes. Now, these reports of strange, unexplained diseased bodies.
Philip Kaufman moves the story out of small-town America and drops it into post-Watergate San Francisco, where suspicion fits the streets. Donald Sutherland plays a city health inspector who starts clocking tiny glitches, blank stares, mismatched memories, friends who seem correct but somehow wrong. Piece by piece, the pattern locks in. Alien pods copy you while you sleep and throw the original away. No ray guns, no podium speeches, just a calm, methodical takeover that loves daylight. The film unfolds like a case file, samples, observations, near misses, with each small failure tightening the noose. People called it one of the rare remakes that surpasses the original, and audiences agreed, turning a mid-budget sci-fi horror into a solid hit. Its standing only climbed as people came back to study how it blocks a scene, layers sound, and turns everyday streets hostile. And the ending, an unblinking shock that freezes the bloodstream, sealed its legend. Craft-wise, it's a handbook on building suffocating tension through behavior and process. The prime example for prestige horror and urban thrillers that turn an entire city into a pressure chamber. Which one are you queuing up first? Solaris' quiet ache or Body Snatchers' cold shock? Drop your pick in the comments and stick around. More essential watches are up next.